All right. Let me get out. I'd like to call to order the board meeting of the Palmyra Area School District, this 21st day of August, 2025. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. French, roll call, please.
Reader,
Here.
God, Mayor, Gilligan,
Here.
Holloman,
Here.
Jones,
Here.
Vogel,
Here.
Watermill,
Here.
Eberhard, Mark,
Here.
President Lyons.
I'd like to seek a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of 7th August 2025. So moved. By Mr. Laudermill, do we have a second? By Mr. Guy, any discussion on the matter? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. President's report. I will keep it very brief today. But I will say that I had the opportunity to speak to our staff yesterday morning, kind of kicking off the new school year, and it was a very nice opportunity to mix it up with some of the staff a little bit, and give them some words of encouragement, and kind of let them know how much the community and this board cares about them and cares about our students. So I took the few minutes that I had. I took that opportunity very seriously, and I hope I projected a favorable message from myself, and I hope it reflected favorably upon this board. I know at the end of the day, what we all strive for is maybe be better for our kids, and I hope that that's the message that our faculty got from the yesterday. So anyway, I was very happy for the invitation, and I was very happy to do that. I have nothing else for the president's report. We will move on to visitor comments. I see that nobody is officially signed up. However, if there's anybody here that would like to speak, please let me know. All right, Mr. Clayton, the usual 5 minutes, sir.
Something came up over the last month, so that made me think about this, made this come to my mind, so I just thought I would ask it at this setting. Concerning the outside PASD buildings where the public is invited together after sundown, what standard, if any, authorizes the maximum external illumination and the minimum external illumination that should exist at such sites? And if there is no maximum or minimum standard, then is it all about civil law and the world of torts to deal, to settle, to resolve any such standards or what would be appropriate? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clayton. Is there a specific question in there I can give you an answer for?
Well, I asked that question at another meeting, at another setting, and what I heard, sometimes I do have difficulty in hearing everything, but what I heard was that there is no minimum standard. There's a maximum standard for like pollution, okay, but there is no standard. So if you really wanted to, you could have just a total dark outside, and everybody can bring a flashlight or whatever, you know what I mean. And if they stumble and fall, well, then that's their issue, because there's no minimum requirement from the PASD to illumine the outside of a site where you're holding events that will go after sundown.
What I can tell you is, for security purposes, there are recommended standards. I'll get what those standards are for you if you want. I don't think, to my knowledge, the district, there's nothing that makes anybody comply with it. It's just a security organization recommended standard. I can tell you what that is. Is there an area of concern?
Well, I actually, the first time I was here, whenever you first started holding this here, I fell outside, okay, on the way out. Okay, because I just didn't see where the sidewalk ended and the driveway began.
Okay.
Cool, okay, and I didn't break anything, praise the Lord, okay, or anything like that. But here, it just, things happen, And I understand in regards to like security, and I understand if anybody would, anything would happen of an assault type nature, a sexual assault type nature, then you're into the world of torts, you know what I mean? Right. In regards to that, and I didn't know if, I just was surprised that there is a maximum for, we don't want to pollute, the night sky too much illumination, but we don't apparently set standards for too little that could lead to other problems.
I
talking about surprise.
And yeah, and my intent wasn't to banter during public comment, but I did need to know if it was a specific problem or question. I appreciate that. Thank you. Anybody else have anything they'd like to speak upon? Seeing none, we will move on to buildings and grounds.
During that meeting, Mr. Grush provided an update on the construction projects. Dr. Kepler reviewed the Ridge Road deed, proposal. And obviously the more update on the renovations, the scope of work, discuss field rentals, geotechnical services contract, review change orders, and there's no problem with comment. So, I believe it's just the one motion, if I understand correctly, to approve the consent agenda for building and grounds. Action items, motion to approve the items of building and grounds consent agenda.
So from buildings and grounds, Mr. Jones makes a motion to approve the consent agenda of the buildings and grounds items as noted on the buildings and grounds consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on that?
I had Mr. Water a question, and I don't know if any of these tie into it, but Dr. Kepler, you have kept us apprised of a number of infrastructure failures over the summer. If you could detail out for the public so they know what they are. I think it's important as we move through the feasibility project, people understand some of the condition of our buildings and what we face this summer. And that ties into the budget, ties into capital outlays. So I don't know if any of these, and these all seem to be change orders, so I wouldn't expect they tie into that. Help us out with that.
Sure. Start by saying none of the change orders you're approving tonight are relative to the issues we've experienced. I'll start probably with the middle school issue where we had a minor issue with mold in the library. That was rectified. Clean restoration company took care of that. Testing and operational 2 weeks ago. Pine, since May, we've had 5 rooftop units fail, and having to replace those within our HVAC system. Pine was one of our more significant issues where we had sent several communications to families at Pine Street Elementary where we had some mold in classrooms, where our team cleaned and tried to remediate. We did air quality testing, brought in a restoration company, had to do more testing, brought the restoration company back a second time, and just on Tuesday night received a report that our air quality met standards and we were fine.
Can I ask a question on that, Dr. Dillard?
Sure.
It's my understanding that between first test and second test, that's not uncommon, that to have to come back and remediate a second time, is that correct?
There's some question I think Mr. Gresh is relaying to me from restoration company that when you you're cleaning surfaces, you're also potentially putting spores in the air. So we had that second time through of significant HEPA filtering, air scrubbing, they call it, and dehumidification. So the potential exists, they said, of cleaning and filling mold spores, but also things could be in the air that needed an additional round of filter.
That's right. Thank you.
Sure. The high school, we're having some significant issues with electrical systems. Our main electrical panel, this thing to give you an idea, is larger than the standard conference room. It is not replaced in 2007. That has been tripping on a handful of occasions throughout the summer, causing some issues. So you have power, you don't have power. So we had a company come out and do some testing on that. They did some resets of the baseline amperage for that unit. Since then, we've been fine. Some issues with the emergency generator, been running at times where I thought it shouldn't be running. Then we're having an issue with the circuit breaker in the auditorium area. The circuit breaker is needed to be replaced, and then even that part having some issues. The new breaker, and they're hard to come on. We used our last one inventory and trying to find an additional breaker there. And then last Saturday, just the dedication of our team, Mr. Dresch, Bud Ackray, one of our maintenance personnel, Dr. Richardson, and I were at the high school library. So we got a rooftop unit, condensation line clogged, backed up with water, came through the ceiling, through the ductwork, through the ceiling of our library. Fortunately, in the entryway, we have books, so that was within a couple hours cleaned up, dry, and fans on it the rest of the week and fine. So just some issues relative. Clearly, we have things over time. It's been a flurry of issues that we haven't experienced.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the matter? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Finance, please.
The Finance Committee last met on August 7, 2025. The first item on the agenda, Mr. French reviewed the 25-26 edition of record, Lebanon Valley Family Medicine, preparation of a motion this evening. Mr. French also reviewed the 2025-2026 federal grants and state budget. Third item, Mr. French reviewed the 2024-2025 audit engagement letter for Boyer and Ritter. Mr. French reviewed the 2025-2026 News Stories Special Education Service Agreement, which was also in preparation of a motion this evening. And Dr. Kepler reviewed the expenditures per ADM and 2023-2024 student achievement data. We had one public comment, and from that meeting, I would have a motion. So I would like to make a motion to approve the Finance Committee items as noted on the Finance Consent Agenda.
Mrs. Brady put forth a motion to approve the Finance Committee consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Hall. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Brady. That will bring us to staffing and administration.
Met on August 7th, for a session. Athletic department overnight trip, field hockey team discussed. Student handbook 25-26 was also discussed. Board policy 805, emergency preparedness and readiness. response was also discussed. There's no public comment. And Mr. Cole will then discuss the proposal we were going to do for closed session. They have a motion to approve staffing and administration committee items as noted on the staffing and administrative consent.
Mr. Guy put forth a motion to approve staffing and administration committee items as noted on the staffing and administration consent agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Lauder. Discussion on the matter, please.
Yes.
Mr. Lauder.
So as always, I have trouble following the progression of people from paraeducator to the special education hierarchy here. So I see a lot of moves here. We're good, we're still fully staffed. It's just people moving around and then we replace, we're good. Okay.
Yes, there has been a lot of interim movement into new positions this year. We are very close to being fully staffed.
Okay.
We have some late resignations that we received, so we're we have substance for the first days.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Any other discussion on the matter?
I do
Mrs.
recall the last meeting, there was, Martin had said about a policy to add an elementary handbook. I don't know if that was done.
Well, in the draft.
Yes, that has been updated.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Ms. Coleman. Anybody else? Hearing none, all those in favor, hold on.
I was just gonna say, can we just confirm that all of the changes in the handbooks were ministerial in nature?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Martin. Anybody else? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Guy. That moves us to the superintendent's report. Dr. Kepler, please. And before you get started, I'd like to let everybody know that's not Mrs. Spagnola at the end of the table. I would like to welcome Dr. Frank. We appreciate your being here, sir. Thank you very much. And welcome.
Appreciate it. Dr. Frank is off to a great start, leading us some staff development over the last number of weeks and induction with our new staff. Great addition to our team. So this month, obviously, fall athletic programs are underway. Contest beginning, marching band, cheerleaders football team taking the field tomorrow night. We are the away team playing Lebanon at Northern Lebanon. There's two teams face off, and neither of us have a home field this year. So good luck to the Cougars there and to all our other fall athletes. Transportation routes and student bus assignments have been delayed. Parent information went out today. For buses, our team continues to work through student van transportation, transparent with our community regarding the struggles we've had in working through that with our contractor. I think we're feeling the pain of Candy Bus retirement. So a lot of work. I applaud our internal team, Chris McGarity, Nicole Valley, under the watchful eye of Dr. Jim Miller and Mike Friend's involvement from the contractual side have done a great job. Tomorrow we'll continue to be a busy day. Tidy up things for families at a Monday start. Open houses. Last night, elementary, I was able to attend the lingual open house at 5 o'clock because of kindergarten, and then we offset the other buildings at 7 because of the aforementioned issue at Pine. I was at that building from 7 to 8:30 session. Parents were fantastic relative to any issues or questions there. Very well attended events. Dr. Richardson arrived tonight. Our high school open house was tonight at 5, and our middle school open house starts here at 7 p.m. tonight. Some other highlights. You might have seen this in the media. social media Oneness Club, Paul Iron, 11, through grant. It's, I think, for the second or third year in a row, helped our community by providing our school nurses and social workers with certain items relative to students and families in need, some hygiene-based items, some clothing. It's a big help from our local ones, and we're appreciative. Mentioned Dr. Frank, the support of Dr. Miller, and also our building administration and other directors led our new teachers through induction. Put into perspective, this year we had 12 new teachers participating in induction. And last year was a little higher than that. The 2 years prior to that, we were in the 32, 35 type range of new staff. So we're very pleased to have that coming to a slower pace. Also, occupancy to our renovated people service office and new classrooms at the high school was given to us on Monday. So teachers had this past Monday were able to get in. Our counselors, social workers, and psychologists into their offices. They're settled in. While contractors are still doing punch list items, so they're painting around our people while we're working to do touch up. So it turned out incredible. We're very pleased with the people service area and the classroom area. Some needed space, particularly in that people service area. It will be effectively hold meetings and work with our students. We'll be present and thank the board for the support of that project. Also, when this went to print, I think it's very similar as we sit here tonight. Our professional positions are filled. In the last we had a computer technician, a custodian, and a computer academy support really monitor. I can tell you, since this was printed, computer technician position has been offered and accepted. Computer academy support position is being offered. So we're very close to being 100% filled. I also share with you enrollment. This was as of Tuesday to give you a perspective of where we're at. Kindergarten, very similar. Last year we started with 197 kindergartners, so we're 6 students higher than that. 12 from last August numbers when we started on school rolled around, we were up to 197. So that 203 still quite a decline from what we're seeing. 320 class of 2024, 300 roughly in the class of 2025. And then also I did this last year for our board of public, sharing the Pell's projections for you, and pretty accurate estimates overall what Pell is telling us and where we're at.
You gotta scroll down.
Oh, thank you. I was scrolling on my other laptop where I was reading from, so I apologize. I thought I was scrolling. Thank you. So you can see we are 25, 26, actually higher than estimated by our Pell projections, slightly. When you take that across 13 grade levels, that's pretty on target. And then upcoming events. Opening in service, we had our district opening in service day on Wednesday, followed by some building department grade level items in the afternoon, faculty meetings this morning in each of our divisions, followed by teachers getting in their classrooms and prepping for the year. So we're excited to see kids on Monday morning. Being at open house last night was just awesome. It was reinvigorating to see a bunch of smiling kids, but parents have bigger smiles than the kids did. I think the parents are excited when they return to school. That is my superintendent.
Thank you, Dr. Kaplan. I would assume we are going to bypass student representative. We'll say that I'm missing side. You always get a wonderful report.
And if I may, Mr. Goble, just learned tonight as I was sitting here before the board meeting, our student council voted Annie Salas is our student council president for the year, and we'll be sending her invitation to our meetings.
Well, that'll be great. I appreciate that, Dr. Kaplan. And I look forward to a new face and some fun reports. Lebanon County Career and Technology Center report.
That is me. Oh. Great, thank you. This is one of the standard, relatively meetings, that we often have there. A lot of, improving the cafeteria work, some personnel, some things like that. But I did want to note here a few things. As far as the approval bills, we approved $1.9 million in bills for the period. And what you're seeing here is a lot of the feasibility project moving forward. Beers and Hoffman is the architect, similar to our feasibility study of RLPS. Beers and Hoffman is quarterbacking the project out there at CTC. Vanavia, which is working with them, Stec Engineering, a lot of Valley Sewer, for Beers and Hoffman, and more Stec Engineering. So that project continues to move forward. If you were here a few meetings ago, Mr. Benton from CTC kind of laid out a couple of different plans. So that is exciting that is continuing to move forward. We approved the 25-26 professional salary schedule as well. One nice piece that I like that Dr. Benton did, and he really brings, and nothing against the previous director, but he really brings a level of professionalism to the entire organization. So he actually drafted, and if anybody wants a copy, just reach out to me. But he actually drafted a new org chart for the CTC out there, and I wasn't quite aware before. I'm not necessarily sure they were either as to who reported to who was responsible for what kind of line of sight. Where, if you're familiar with the corporate org chart, there's solid lines and there's dotted lines. So he's done a good job putting all of that together, moving some resources around so that everybody has a regularly even workload across everybody. So that, I think, again, continues the professionalism of the CTC out there. The non-union support staff salaries were increased 3.73%. We did, I typically don't go to the resignations, but we did accept the resignation of Alex DiMarzio, who's the principal at the CTC. And at the time I've been at the CTC, I've really been impressed with his work. So I think that's an area of concern. The CTC is actively looking to fill that principal role, hopefully with some of the experience they can put in and really, now that we're at the opening phase of this feasibility project, to jump into that part. But I'm sorry to see him go. And the reason given was he actually drives an hour to work for in and back, and he found a different role to 10 minutes from his house. He is a really young kid, so good move for him. Sorry to see him go to CTC. I think that was just checking. I think that was it. The rest of these were cafeteria. Small hires. We did approve the full-time welding instructor, which from what I understand is very difficult to do. So Mr. Benton was thrilled with that. And that is it. Approved a couple of conventions, trips for students and staff to continue their education for contests or competitions. And I guess one of the things which I was unaware, I asked a question about the FFA is only sending 4 people to the national conference. And I know in Lebanon County, the FFA is a pretty large organization and a number of districts. And I asked why just 4 students, shouldn't there be more? Aren't there a lot of kids in that? And evidently there's only 8 students in the FFA out of the CTC. So the 4 is the officers. I was surprised, however, it's just a 2-year school, juniors and seniors. And the seniors from last year, they're already gone. So it's really just the juniors that are getting up. They're not sure yet who's going to be from the juniors standpoint in the FFA. So that made more sense to me. But I think at Cedar Crest, for example, they have 66 students in FFA. That's more what I was expecting. The CTC would have a huge number, and then they have some programs out that align with that about. So I found that surprising, but the answer made a lot of sense there. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Lauderdale. Elmira Parks and Recreation Commission report.
We met last evening. And the good news is summer day camp went very well. They're inviting back all the families and counselors.
Is that on?
Oh, sorry. There we go.
That's better.
We met last evening, and summer day camp was discussed, and I was told that they will be inviting back all families and counselors due to a successful year. There were no issues, so it's all good news. We received some evaluations from the parents, and some of the feedback that was given is going to be taken into consideration. There were leftover backpacks from the summer day camp, and I was told they would be given to the Lingle guidance counselor, I believe.
The elementary social worker was housed at Lingle.
Yes, okay, thank you. All the athletic camps were successful. And we had a group of some of our distinguished population come out last evening to talk about the need for a pickleball court. So we discussed that at length last evening, talked about some different ideas. And our next meeting is going to be Wednesday, September 17th at 6 o'clock.
Thank you, Mrs. Hall.
I have a question for, so you mentioned pickleball, and I've seen some emails around the pickleball. Was there any mention of the district's involvement or what they would want to do with our courts around pickleball?
Well, there was some things said on that. I just said from what I know, ours are PIAA sanctioned, and they're for tennis only. So that's really all I knew to offer. There was some suggestion, someone said there were 6 tennis courts, why do we need all 6? There, it's like, can we just use 4 for tennis and the other 2 for pickleball, so there was that type of thing. And to my understanding, we have a tennis team and we do utilize all 6 of our courts, is what I had.
And the high school tennis match on the 6 courts.
Right. So there were just different suggestions about churches in the area, reaching out to them, possibly putting a pickleball court set up in gymnasiums, parking lots, or just kind of thinking outside the box. There was also discussion at Fireman's Park, now Memorial Park, that they do have an area, like land that could be used for pickleball. However, they're pretty sure that they would not utilize taxpayer dollars for that. So there was discussion on possibly fundraising. You would have stormwater management and all of that involved. That would be the case there. Again, just a lot of discussion outside the box. And I do believe they're going to be talking to all of the municipalities regarding an area where you can put it.
Okay, good, great.
Item 13 report, please.
Sure. We met last August 13th at the One Cumberland location in Lebanon. So it was nice for me. We typically don't meet up at the Lebanon location, but it's closer for me, so it was nice. We hadn't met in July, so the August meeting typically is a lot of contract approval and things just getting ready for the new school year. There was a lot of sharing from the executive director, things that happened this summer. There's a lot of positive stories with the kids and a lot of excitement around the school year starting. So that was really positive to spend some time going over that. So there were a lot of contracts approved. They did approve the 3.25% salary increase for the community education staff members for the 25-26 school year. Second reading approval of policy 806 for child abuse. Typical resignations, terminations, changes in positions. They did elect a new assistant secretary, Mr. Flip Steinhauer, for the 2025-26 year. And the last thing they wanted me to plug is their community yard sale that they have down at the Borough location, in Holland Avenue, Lancaster. And that will be Saturday, September 20th from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. And all the money that they raise from that is used for the IU13 social work fund. Our next meeting then will be September 10th at the Lancaster location.
Thank you, Mrs. Martin. And Mr. Waterville, back to you, sir. Cougar report. Cougar Foundation.
Sounds good, thank you. We did meet since the last meeting. Mostly we talked about how much money we raised from Family Dance, which was just under $10,000. So a little lower than last year. We talked about a couple of reasons for that, but still a pretty good amount for us. Attendance was down, but we increased the prices, so it worked out. It worked down as much as attendance was down. Last year's numbers. It was a great time. The Family Dance, we had a different DJ this year. He did a great job on his own lights and everything. The kids seem to be super excited about it. We have a ton of raffle baskets for that. The raffles are relatively inexpensive, so people are buying a lot of tickets. The kids love it. So that is a big deal. We're looking for that for next year. We also approved some grants. The biggest grant, I think, is at the kindergarten level. Down in Lincoln, we had a request for some sensory tables. They're going to share there, so we approved a number of sensory tables from Amazon for the kids to use there. So they use sand, water, so they're going to get the kids engaged and help them move around throughout the tactile instead of a device or paper sit in a circle. Just a little different concept we're trying. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Watt. Mr. Guy, Public Library. Mrs. Braver, Lebanon County Tax Collection and Committee Report.
Last evening. Is it on that? Okay, there we go. All right. Yes, the TCC met last evening, August 20th. We had a presentation from Boyer and Ritter on the 2024 audit report. The audit report came back good. There were no material findings or variances found. Aside from that, it was business as usual. Collections and disbursements continue to look good. And collections for Lebanon County as a whole continue to trend upwards. Our next meeting will be November 19th.
Mrs. Braver. Ms. Gilligan, Lebanon County Legislative Region Report, please.
Okay, as you probably know, there's no end in sight for the 25-26 budget. Legislation is still miles apart in making a decision about education spending. The Democrats said they have no interest in passing a 6-month short-term budget, but Republicans are coming back to Harrisburg to suggest this to happen. The delayed state payment included a $1.4 billion basic education subsidy and $255 million special ed subsidy. Payments that are normally paid in August, July and August, plus $99 million in federal grants won't be happening. Various state subsidies for social and public transportation that's paid in August won't be made. 21 million subsidies for CTC is delayed, with 27 million for pre-K and 13 million in Head Start are delayed, plus $13 million in money going to libraries are also delayed with this budget. So cross your fingers. Doesn't look good.
Thank you, Mrs. Gilligan. Any other reports? I'm not aware of any. As always, communications to the board can be found on the district website. I will now seek a motion for adjournment. By Mr. Jones, there is a second.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Gilligan. Discussion? Anybody want to talk about abstaining? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We are adjourned.
Recording stopped.
Second committee is up first, sir. Curriculum. Curriculum committee is.
I'll jump right in with our goal areas that the administration presents to you for 2025-2026. Maintaining our practice of using the PASD acronym, public relations goal area, achievement goal area, strategic leadership, and district operations. Under our public relations goal area, the board has heard us talk about a new website being needed based on accessibility and, frankly, more quality. We have an inexpensive tool, and that's what we provided. So work on a new website has started. Dr. Hudson's leading that effort, and throughout the course of this year, that'll be taking place behind the scenes with a rollout of that new site for the 26-27 school. So keep you updated. As part of that being a communication tool, we also want to connect with our community at large. I think we do a great job of communicating with our families that have children in school. We have a keen ability to make a phone call, send a text, or an email. We want to build a community-wide group within our school messenger system. We are looking at putting together some postcards to put out in various businesses, social media, QR codes so folks can QR code and submit their name, email address, cell number to be on that list, but also just a website or a phone number as well, as some of our stakeholders may not know what a QR code is. And then we will be doing our work in preparation for accessibility. Teacher training has already started. What is needed there, as is our social media rollout of new policy and training, where we're separating, we're making sure there's separation between personal social media of employees and work-based social media. So a lot of areas relative to public relations work throughout the course of the year. Under achievement, we continue to do well, but we have work to do. We are looking at the inclusion of our curriculum cycle work as a major focal area. Great deal of time for our administrators and staff. So as we roll that out, dovetails really in line with what Dr. Frank has brought to our team and looking at multiple measures of data. We're going to spend a year looking at the student learning data, achievement, growth, things that we've always looked at, but taking a deeper dive into the fine details of individual students and groups of students. We're going to look at demographic data, assess, looking at whether it's free and reduced lunch, residents, attendance, etc. Perception data is one that we want to focus on. Dr. Frank has some experience there, and how do we know that our constituents feel that we're doing a good job? So how can we craft surveys to get stakeholder feedback from various stakeholder groups? We're going to be doing that throughout the course of this year. And then the final piece of data is school processes. We need to analyze those school processes to make sure we are doing things as efficiently as possible. Under strategic leadership, these items very directly link into our comprehensive plan. We want to look at some climate and culture survey relates to that perception data to a degree, in large part, working with our families to get feedback. So those two goal areas dovetail with one another. Continuing our one parent development, making sure all of our students have their person, at least one that they know they can go to for support. We continue to focus on graduation rate. That is not just a high school goal, although the burden is clearly on Dr. Richardson's shoulders. But that starts with the kindergartners coming through our door on Monday. All of us play a role, just might be 13 years in the future. Continuing to look at how we do student concern meetings, attendance meetings. I know some of our buildings are already making changes in how they're going to structure some of those items this year. And then again, that continual work of attendance that we're working on in our comprehensive plan of how do we reduce truancy. And then finally, under district operations, these are some big ones that we know will be commitment of time and energy throughout the year. That first one was for administration and board. As I mentioned in the committee 2 weeks ago, RLPS through More Engineering has started their work. That's for the direction of this board in providing more fine-tuned scope of work recommendations. So that will take over the next several months. So as we have a new board in December, we'll be poised with that information and start those discussions. We will have teacher negotiations that are required to kick it off in January. So that is a huge goal for us under district operations. And then also, we want administratively to assess our data warehouse system. We currently house all of our student achievement data, testing data, whether it's curriculum-based local assessments or state assessments, housed in a product called Data Blender. It is actually written by the Warwick School District, their technology department, one of the many software packages we buy from Warwick. We're seeking, asking the question, do we have the right? And we want to spend time this year researching that and look for, if there is a recommendation for a change, make that to this board through the budgeting process for next year. Those are, I think, a yeoman's load of goal areas for us, but clearly define the work that we're going to be doing.
Good data.
Dr. Miller is going to share an annual document with you this evening. Give you a perspective when you talk about demographic data. This is one of those sources, so I'll turn it over to Dr. Miller.
Good evening. So the data in front of you is the student data comparison. A lot of this is encompassed through student services. So we really want to make sure we're looking at the whole child through situations and circumstances that we are presented as a way to prepare for supports for families and students, and also a way to react when things are happening. How can we provide this support? So you kind of see the long-term data, and there's some shifts that have been very consistent, some that are a little more drastic. Our number of foster care families has been very stable, whereas our homeless, displaced, or those experiencing educational instability has increased significantly. So certainly want to make sure that we are having resources and supports in place, and we're talking about work with counselors and social workers that extend beyond that to involve principals and classroom teachers, just all those things in the education process that go above and beyond just student learning to make sure that families feel supported. So we did increase our school-based therapy, and we have paid counseling in there, so we are accessing those resources. So on one hand, we'd love to see that we are accessing resources. We have our placements have decreased over the last 2 years. 2 years ago, we were at about 80, 23, 24, 75, and we're 63 placements. And that's the total number of placements involving 44 students. So through that process, when they are in placements, they're still responsible for education. So if they're at a placement like Philhaven, they're educating, we are providing the classes for the services. We want to make sure that our kids are supported, certainly their mental health and well-being comes first. We are there to support them from the transition there, and then also coming back into our classrooms to make sure that they are cared for through the situation. So with these situations, we have the support from paid counseling. Like I said, our social workers and counselors are working tirelessly to make sure the teachers are informed of what they need, making sure parents have the resources that they need to access the supports. Down at the bottom, we also see that our migrant students, that's something that changes every month. They're on it for a year, a calendar year from when they sign up. So those numbers constantly change, but that's just resources that is funded through the state. They provide a lot of great programs. They had a summer camp this summer that we helped provide transportation to get some of our students to that program. A lot of those students are, speak more than one language, so just providing support for families. Migrant education provides supports, whether it's with job, with medical care, and obviously we're on the education side of it. So certainly we're trying to meet the needs of all of our students through all these situations. It's great to see this data, see how we can support what programs we put in place to meet the needs and support our staff as we're working with a diverse community we serve. Any questions on the data you see in front of you?
Miller, has the definition of student changed any time between when the data started to be collected to now, or are we actually experiencing a pretty significant increase in?
It is a broader term. It is now homeless, displaced, and educational instability. So it's more than just homeless. I don't know when that term changed or that affected the data for number of students we have. It's certainly a lot more rights privileges for families that do have that disability to attend the district where their students have resided, to make sure they have that stability. So if they are going through something with their living situation, their education can remain consistent.
That's great.
Yeah, yes. Any other questions? Thank you.
Medieval studies.
Okay, thank you. We have a medieval studies curriculum present for board approval. This is prepared by Mr. Joseph Nong, who is a part of our high school social studies faculty. This course was included in the high school course catalog for 25-26 and will be taught for the first time in the school year. This is an elective course which counts toward the 4 social studies credits BHS students need to graduate. American Focus 9, U.S. Government, Civics, and 10 will be certain as well. Currently, there are 3 very full sections. We're excited students to take this course. 25. Attached is the Medieval Studies Year in Advance document. And what this includes is the course description, big ideas, pacing standards for each of the 5 units of study. Any questions on the medieval studies? Yes, Scott.
The first question I had, where you explained to me this is open to all group. Okay, this is one of the areas of expertise. So, what the Western Civilization Act program, and I took a look at the curriculum. I think it's very well done. I do have a concern, however, with the intricacies of medieval life. A lot of issues that are very complex, very emotional, and very controversial. Having taught 9th graders, I do not have a problem with their emotional ability, education ability, and of course, if this course is going to be done in the depth that it needs to be done. I know with my Western Civ, we took juniors and seniors, usually ended up 75 to 100 seniors taking it their final year. And of course, most of those were mentally, emotionally capable of understanding the rigors and complex of the society and the controversial things. I mean, I just want to go on record. I have a problem with freshmen, in understanding how they think. Just want to.
I would put the Spectre comment as well, and I did have the opportunity yesterday. We were welcoming staff and had some conversation with Dr. Frank, Mr. Guy, and several others on curriculums, the medieval studies. And honestly, I was excited about it. I still am excited. It's one of my favorite to study. I was a youngster. And I have a 9th grader who's in the class. I really don't have any reservations with my particular child. Seem like I'm speaking for everybody, but Michael is really excited to jump into this. And I'm excited to be part of the board. So thank you for that.
Can I just piggyback on that a little bit? I just have just a basic question. How is it determined to offer this to freshmen? And why was it offered at all? Was there a big interest in this area? Is that why we moved to offer this? I just kind of want a little bit more background. I guess is where my questions are centered. I'm just kind of piggybacking off of Clary's comment about offering to freshmen. Kind of what was the decision for that? What's just the background?
We appreciate the question, and I'm glad Dr. Kepler knows our school. I'm learning it, and quickly got into the roster. There's only 2 or 4 freshmen. But Dr. Richardson, do you have any background on, obviously, the history of this course being offered to freshmen?
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine. So the course proposal process prior to our curriculum cycle was the teachers proposed courses very early in the school year for the following year. They go through a vetting process. They do their own kind of anecdotal discussions with students to see where their interests lie, as well as looking at our full cadre of history offerings and where the interests may be. You may recall, I don't know if it was 3 or 4 years ago, we began a women's studies course, felt that there was a kind of a gap in our presentation of history. So it just comes out of teacher interest. Then a lot of research as far as what other schools are offering. Then the true test is to see if students sign up for it. And this was a course that we probably could have offered an entire teacher schedule, just medieval studies. One of the reasons it was offered to 9 through 12 is to give our students more opportunities for electives. Our 9th grader schedules are very limited. You can only take this math because it's very sequential. You can only take this science because it's a very sequential English the same way. And I'd be interested, and I can talk more, Larry, with you specifically about those topics that are concerning. Because also having a background in history, there are probably some of those same topics contained in our other curricular areas, whether it be world history, American cultures. Certainly some of those discussions can be as intense and as emotional. And Mr. Naughton has a master's in history, very unique in our secondary teachers now, because most times they get master's degree in another area, not subject specific. But Joe that did just receive his master's in history last fall, I believe it was, which allowed him to teach bring back our hack world history course and teach that. So we can certainly look at that. First time through, knowing Joe and the reflective educator that he is going to look and say, okay, is this working? How does this go? And continue to update that curriculum. So now with the curriculum cycle, we'll be a little bit more discerning. We may not be as quick to say, hey, we need this new course. We have to look and say, where does it fit with our indicated curriculum cycle? We should be researching our department, comparing it to outside reference points, and then making a determination going forward.
Thank you, Dr. Richardson. And just the numbers, there's 82 students currently in it, a very small percentage of freshmen, and these are kids who are doubling up on social studies for freshman year. So obviously very passionate.
And you might have from home understanding that mom and dad don't make that tough.
Any other questions?
And so we have a new club, number 4.
Yeah, so the second item for this evening is an exciting new club offering in the middle school. It's called the National Juniors Honor Society. If it sounds familiar, it's because it is through the National Association of Secondary School Principals, which is the same organization that facilitates the National Honor Society at our school. So this organization at the junior high level, middle school level, just like at the high school level, highlights everyday scholarship, service, leadership, character, citizenship. So Tanya Shaw, grade 7 ELA teacher, is agreed to serve on a volunteer basis as a club advisor, and it's a great opportunity for our students to distinguish themselves in those areas. Any questions about the new club offering?
Again, what was the background for having this new club? Was there a demand for that from students, or was it a mix of students and faculty that would want this new offering? Or, I think it's great. I really support it. I'm just curious. A little background information.
And I did talk to Mr. Popejoy. He supports at back to school night right now. It did come from interest with Ms. Shaw, students that she works with. But I can't speak to specifics that brought the interest. I apologize.
Book approval.
Thank you. The last item I have is for a new book approval prepared by Ford's grade 3 teacher David Hudler. The story entitled Book Report from the Black Lagoon by Mike Thaler is a story about a child named Beauty who is not fond of reading. His teacher assigns a book report, and the school librarian assists Beauty with seeking it title. Despite his initial apprehension, Beauty discovers the amazing power of books and their ability to unlock our imaginations. Mr. Hudler already has a classroom set for each child, so no additional funding is needed. The book is not replacing anything, because it will be read during Bible study time, which takes place during the 15 minutes after students return from lunch recess. So it seems like a great opportunity to reinforce the standards he's teaching, while also giving the kids a little bit of break as they come into lunch recess. So this is the book. Book report from the library.
Any public comments regarding the curriculum and instruction open committee meetings? Scott?
Well, you might really look. Is it kind of like pictures underneath all the words? No, it's interesting what happens to the students. Okay. The other thing was, Western took it in college, and it's hard. And there's Islam and Jewish. I just want to know how we manage that. I know it's a lot of things don't happen here with the rest of the world, but I just want to caution that when the teachers get those questions about Islam versus Israel and all that, you can tell me from your experience how you feel that. Can we be careful going forward how we handle that conversation? Because that could be big. Thanks.
Did when I was there.
But
You did when I was there.
yeah, I can't remember now, so that's why I thought you'd sure.
No, not more than not any words.
Well, this is so late, yeah. It's more public.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Mr. Clayton?
Turning to the studies curriculum, what emotional stressors or triggers have been built into this studies curriculum, according to anybody who knows what is in it? Number two is, what would be the reason to offer this before offering world history in high school, if that is indeed the case? Okay, and number three, will this legal study be linked into the entity of the club, the activity known as Dungeons and Dragons? Okay, that's in regards to the medieval studies curriculum concerning the student data, or excuse me, concerning the 2025-2026 goals. Again, concerning QR codes. Okay, earlier this year I became aware of a situation where a QR code was actually turned into a malicious device. Okay, and some real issues came about before it was discovered to be a malicious device. And what I was watching indicated how difficult it is sometimes to see if a malicious component had been embedded inside of a QR code. So, to the understanding of the PASD, how easily can QR codes that would be created by the PASD be corrupted for one type of malicious intent or another? Okay, and how can a user of a PASD QR code verify if that code has or has not been corrupted? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clayton.
Just try to answer a couple of those things. Just to answer a couple of these things, it's because I've experienced going through this and
Are we there?
Yes. Having spent half my life teaching this, it's very difficult to attempt. This is something that Mr. Cleveland said, I think, this mentioned. It's very difficult to teach medieval studies by itself. If you don't have a background in Greco-Roman world, don't understand the whole making up of the Roman Empire, if you don't really understand Christianity and Judaism and Islam, just to address the Middle Ages by itself becomes difficult. And I know I took a look at the curriculum, and he's talking about the fall of the Roman Empire and all those things, but after 476, for the next 1,000 years, Western Europeans are going to try to recreate the Roman Empire. And if you really don't have an understanding of the Roman Empire, that creates confusion. Again, I think this is a marvelous course. I think the topics that are being talked about are great. But somehow I think there has to be an addition to it. Again, I feel I'm capable of saying this because I taught it. If you don't talk about Rome, if you don't talk about all those institutions, and when you start dealing with the Middle Ages, and you've got Charlemagne and Holy Roman Empire in Germany and all those other areas, the kids aren't going to have a real understanding. So I'm just saying maybe this needs a little bit more, and again, this is kind of late because especially if it's going to start, but I think that's something that needs to be taken into consideration. And again, here's the problem that I see. As far as, again, all fourth grades having this, just besides the maturity. Usually what happens is, at least in the old days, we introduce something like AP European or advanced BA study. Everybody wants to take it, so we let everybody take it. And therefore we end up with 2, 3, 4 sections of it. But the end result is then, since everybody's taken it, the next year, instead of 2, 3, 4 sections, you barely have enough in one section. That's a concern. If we want this to be perpetuated, then it has to be designated, or it should be designated the way we did it. The way we did it was when we were dealing with advanced EA US history. 11th graders took that. We had 90 kids take that. And seniors took Western Step, and we had 90 kids. Now, we had some kids that, because the scheduling one way or another, do that against the juniors who belong, seniors who the other. Again, I just don't want to come next year and all of a sudden this is down to where we're trying to justify sections. I've seen it happen. And I'm not talking in the wind, I'm talking from 40 years of experience how this works. So that's all I got to say about it.
Do pass that. I'd be curious if some updates in the class addresses. Sure, administration be working hard and appreciate the insight, the educator's perspective. That was just looking at one part. Because it's a great period of time to spend.
It is a fun course. It is. But there's a lot of things in this course that don't deal with knights in shining armor. You're only talking about 9% of the population. 80% of the peasants are peasants in the dirtiest situation that you could possibly exist, in one-room homes, freezing in the winter, sweltering in the summer. The house acting also as the barn, and the life expectancy is under 30 years. So very few children that are born live to 7 or 8. Very few parents see their kids get old. It's something, again, that you have to deal with. There's a lot of different things. Of course, it's going to be taught right. And I have no doubt he's going to be teaching, because the outline looks very good. I just have some concerns. I mean, I would love to have seen this last year rather than what course is going to start next week. Yeah, I would love to have seen it last year. I could sit down and talk to it. I mean, I taught this course. I come into school with 75 pounds of chainmail armor on me, laying down the hall. And again, it's just trying to let people know what it was.
That's an interesting perspective. It was for me. Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll wrap up curriculum committee, and we would move on to staffing and administration.
Boys and girls basketball. Booster Club.
So this agenda item started with 2 weeks ago, boys basketball booster treasurer coming and presenting and speaking to the board and requesting a waiver of custodial fees as per the use of facility policy. In that interim, we did receive a similar request via email from the girls basketball boosters. So what Mr. Prince has done is provided you with the 2 invoices that are directly linked to the current board policy, and ultimately for discussion tonight and some direction from this board on what we do perhaps short term, if anything, and what your desire is long term.
I'll speak on that first, if I may. I think, from my perspective, I have an interest in seeing this on the agenda for approval next meeting, but I will preface that by saying I do understand it's within the guidelines prescribed by the board policy, and I know this has come up on a couple of occasions, and I think it merits maybe a little bit of an examination of the current policy and if it should be tweaked. So what my intention would be to put together a small committee to review and possibly make some recommendations on what we can do with the fee structure moving forward. And it's a delicate balance, and I get that, because the district does not want to lose money, we want to be fiscally responsible. That is our responsibility as a board to ensure. But there's also the responsibility of providing services to the community, because the school district and its grounds are public property. And I get that. Cognizant of the conflict. So my hope is that maybe a couple of board members volunteer to work with myself and see if we can resolve that conflict by examining what we have in place, making some fair recommendations.
Thank you. The only question I had was and I forget her name, the woman who spoke. Good. Said that she was aware of the custodial charge up front. And we said I'm a contractor, right? This is all pretty spelled out. Not to say she was wrong, she might have missed the word, but it is included in the contract that we sent in, what the charges are up front. Everything. Right? There's no confusion on that.
We do provide a policy. It is a bit difficult with, and as Mr. Cole noted, over the past 12 months, we've updated the policy. Some of that, a lot of that came from administratively seeing how it was administered in the past and the lack of consistency. of how it was administered. And so, a lot of things, some things at the district, it becomes the ability to just kind of continue to move in that way because there's no good or able to change it. Drawing that line in the sand and saying having a policy that the board operator allows to reset some of those things and so that we can move forward with consistency with how things are going. But we do recognize that, so we would have, when we were going through that policy change, sent that to groups that we normally interact with. Booster clubs are a challenge in that the leadership, the parents involved in that usually rolls over time. So may have communicated that with a certain group of people that are no longer there or not responsible for certain items. In my career, that is quite common that when policies change, groups come back and say, well, I really wasn't aware of that. And that may be true. I'll be to that effect, but noting that it's a difficult process for us to communicate effectively with everybody, especially those educators in the room can attest to that if you provide instruction and all those students look at you, don't ask any questions, you assume everybody understood what was in there. It's not till later that they take the test and they didn't understand that some of these issues arise. And specifically when it includes money and fundraising, completely understand where those situations were misunderstandings.
So I understand we sent them a policy. We sent that in advance. But I guess my question is, when they said you want to set this basketball camp up, how much is it going to cost us? And we said, all right, well, here's what it's going to cost. It's going to cost me $1,000 for the building. It's going to be $2,240. Custodial charge, and so your grand total is going to be $3,240 for your camp for the 3 different weeks, and there you go. It's
I can't note that the interaction occurred exactly that way. It would have been changed our current policy. We did reduce or take away charges for this type of 1 and 2 don't pay for the facility. But to the extent that they bring larger groups of people into the building, which requires or provides additional stressors on the custodial maintenance staff in the building, feel it is necessary to recoup some of those costs or to ensure people understand that that operation happened. In the past, those charges hadn't occurred, and I think it has to do more with that change of misunderstanding. Well, we've never charged for custodians in the past. I assume we're not going to charge for them in the future. We would probably have given them dollar value, but said we charge $40 an hour. But I can't speak to exactly where the misunderstanding came from in terms of that process or the individuals involved. If that happened through a phone conversation, it's not related to other individuals in the district level that may be responsible for money. It may not be responsible for something.
and that all makes sense. I appreciate that. So as I listen to this, it sounds like, and you're free to disagree, but it sounds like there isn't a meeting of the minds here. We thought the Booster Club would understand about what they had to pay us and what the Booster Club thought. We set the policy out, and then they say, look, we're going to need we're going to do a couple days, 3 hours a day, and we don't pay anything. So we're good. They missed the memo. There's no further communication where someone said, oh, okay, no problem. We've got these 3 weeks, 3 hours a day. You will be charged $22.40 for the custodian.
We have those communications with the outside groups, but I can't provide to you with that exactly. And with inside groups, sometimes it's individuals speaking with each other because they've dealt with each other for many years. Something we're also trying to move past, to experience in the past that our coaches will be the ones putting the information, trying to have them not represent clubs. That also is a change that we're continuing to deal with
Okay, that makes sense as well. So I'll join the committee that I'm trying to put together here. But I would say in the short term, until we hash that out, and not that I want to have you workload or whatever, but moving forward, can we have an invoice created? So in this case, it would be, okay, boys youth basketball camp, here's going to be your invoice for what you're going to be responsible. So that they when the event happens, and then at the end of that, just like in regular business, they would have that cut and check.
That is how that happens. This was sent to them. We normally don't provide invoices beforehand because they could change. There's less time, more time, and that creates additional administrative burden of providing refund, rebilling. So we historically provide the invoices after the event. To your note, and I've got to gather this information because I don't know if the discussion happened, the emails were sent to say we're going to be charged for $40 an hour because of the number of individuals.
You don't have to look that up. It's okay. I mean, that. I'm not looking for confirmation that in this particular case that occurred. I'm just trying to more understand our process because I heard she had to say last week, and I was not particularly in favor of granting either of these. Simply because I said this at the first waiver we got is the 5 stones and then football, and then we got this. I feel like there's going to be more and more coming. But I feel like it wasn't, there's not a meeting of the minds here between our expectations and the club's expectation. So I would be in favor of granting this. I didn't come to the meeting that day. But that, and not that it's their fault, and that's our fault. I don't think I think we missed the connection that would make me comfortable saying, here's the invoice, here's the invoice or the quote we provided you. We knew what that was in advance. Now that you receive the invoice, what you're ready to pay is that was so with that feeling that I have, I'd be okay with great. And understanding the process now. I think that on the subcommittee on this. But I think have that now. If I could jump in.
Because I'm sitting here just writing things down that are coming in my mind. And I've been very involved in these types of activities for years. And when this first appeal came last time, I'm thinking, okay, I can see the direction she's coming. But next month, you're going to have somebody else coming in. And then the following month, you're going to have somebody else. And before you know it, you open up Pandora's box. And you don't have any policy whatsoever. Now, I'm looking at this, and I know you said that the memberships of the clubs keep changing as kids go through. Well, the membership of this board keeps changing. So what might be perfectly clear to us today, 4 years from now, new group, you have problems all over again. And as far as I learned a long time ago, the less questions people ask when you present something, the more they don't understand. Because they simply don't know enough to ask questions. And I guess this is the perplexing problem that I have. Boards have gone out of their way to try to coerce, maybe that's the wrong word, but get groups to support athletics. And the problem is, they then go out and create mechanisms to gain money. So they have this activity during the summer because they're trying to gain money to support their club because the school board says you have to take a more active role in doing that. And then we turn around and penalize them for doing the very thing that we asked them to do. That's where my problem is. Now, I totally understand, somebody has to clean up and electric bills and everything else. But whoever's gonna sit down and think about this, we are asking them to do something. And then when they do it successfully, then we're penalizing them and taking a portion, at this, half of their profit away. And therefore, they have less to contribute to that sporting business. I just want the board to think about that, because I have no answer. But I think that's the underlying problem more than anything else. It's beyond, and you're damned if you do and damned if you don't.
And I think that it would be my hope that we not only address dollar amounts, which is the assumption right away, the underlying problem, you and Mr. Waterman both address might very well be the process. So I don't like we can get to address that. Right, hope when we do this, if we do this, would address that. Mr. Jones.
Here's the thing, I think we're way overcomplicating the situation, right? It's about money. It's literally about money. I mean, everything we do here is about money. Everything the school board does is about money. I think it's a great thing. I've said it many times. The problems that I see in this district is we kind of morph into not only public education, but we're also social services, which I think is great. I think the summer programs that we do, and I think, but it's the same conversation. I mean, I was just joking around with my son the other day about this, right? He's talking about how he has this and this and this and whatever. And I'm like, yeah, okay, so what do you pay for this? Well, I only pay this. What does your friends pay for insurance? Well, they pay like $200 a month. I'm like, what do you pay? Like, I pay like $75. I said, yeah, that's because you're not buying insurance program. I charge you what the ad was to add you my insurance program. I'm sure most of us have kids that are older, whatever. I mean, the days and age now where you've got kids that are married that are on your cell phone line. Why? Because it's $50 to add a cell phone line versus if he goes and gets his own cell phone line with his wife or whatever they have, it's $100. Right? I mean, it's all about money. So I'm completely on board with, hey, let's do a program, let's do whatever. But we need to remember, this is the conversation of when taxes come around. This is the conversation when we start increasing, because, these are all soft costs that you see. It's custodians, but AC's running in the middle of the summer that weighs on the HVAC and the extra thing. We're using floors that require additional waxing. We build stadiums and we build turf complexes or whatever. We base them off normal wear and tear use of an athletic team of a high school, not off every youth program or whatever. I'm not saying don't do that. Please don't. That is not what I'm saying. I think we should do more, but that's why it's about the money. Unfortunately, this year the only kid I have in a booster program or whatever is cheerleaders. My wife is now, the whole cheerleading thing. The girls, because they're traveling to all these things, are, what are we going to do? Are we going to get the girls food before the game? Are we going to do this? And now they're reaching out to parents. How do we do this? And how do we do that? And you know what? I did the same thing, that I did in lacrosse, right? Went to some of my vendors and just said, listen, I don't want to have to argue with people. I don't want to have to worry about, do I pitch you $20 this week or whatever. You donated before for me. I need you to cover this year of the boosters. And that's what parents did. I'm not saying I'm the only one, but I know that many parents that have kids in different football or whatever, it's always one or two or three parents that go and contribute a ton, which is what you see on the board. These people here, all of us, come and put in our time, but nobody sits here and sees. This is why you talk about 0.5% or 1/4%. So sorry, the long-winded, everybody knows I'm always long-winded. I'd be more than happy to change the policy, but in Mr. Prince's defense, we can create a policy and everything about this. This is all they're asking about is they want more money to buy better uniforms or more money to provide a better gift at the end of the year for their program. I am fine with that. I don't have a problem with that. But that is what society is. That's what this district is. And that's why increases in taxes have to happen from year to year, change to change. Because we're supplementing booster programs. That's it. It's simple. There's no great, it's about money. They want more money in their program. I'm with you all, or I'm with you, Mr. Guy, on, I think we should do, Mr. Koval, I'm with you on, absolutely. I think, to be quite honest, the summer programs that we help, I think anybody, I think these facilities are public funds. They're paid for in public funds. Why are we charging anybody to use them? The reason why we're charging them to use is we're charging them so they can help offset our costs so that we don't have to raise taxes as much as we whatever. So I'm just asking all of us to remember what the trade-off is. You can talk $2,000. It's $2,000 from the basketball. We gave whatever we did to the midget football. Credit. If I were any other booster program in this, you should hear from the lacrosse team, you should hear from the soccer team, you should hear from the football team, you should hear from the tennis team, you should hear from the swimming club. How many sports do we have? Probably 15, 20. Okay, well, the 2,000 just went to 30. Like that.
And I stopped. And I agree, and nothing may change, that we make it back and say everything is fine the way it is.
So I'm in support of this to kind of end it, but I just hope they come back during budget season and say, hey, thank you to the new board and say, hey, thank you for the $2,000 grant donation. Do whatever you need to do to supplement that so that it's shared across the wealth, right? Because everybody seems to forget where the money comes from. Sorry, I yelled my time.
Anybody else? I've heard that there's interest, I haven't heard that there is not.
Direction for us to place this on the agenda for a vote of a waiver of fees and let the chips fall where they may.
I would say you need to ask her, because you've only heard from three. So I think you need to make sure that it's the will of the board, not just the three. So that'd be what
I'm good moving forward.
Yeah, and I'm just gauging interest here, not we'll debate this if we're getting, when the motion shows up on the agenda next meeting. But right now, I personally, I feel that there's enough interest that we should put it on the agenda.
Based on Chairman Mr. Koval, this may be debated again. We would recommend that it's placed instead of a consent agenda, that we would place it as its own item. So as not to have to deal with issues of other approvals that are on the consent agenda.
If we resolve that issue for the moment, we'll see it again. We can move on to electronic public. Larry, I can hardly wait for this next one. I just fall into that meeting, I keep taking everybody's job. I did it to you last week.
Electronic signature resolution.
So the previous board authorized me to be an electronic signer of our federal program grants, in essence, rather than printing off a document, signing it, and mailing it in. Dr. Frank has authorized to do that. This simply needs a board resolution where you would say he may e-sign our federal program applications. Simply what this is.
So explain to me how that works.
So within the e-grants system, the flow of federal monies we talk a lot about over the course of the last few months.
No, I'm talking about signature.
It basically allows him to, he has an individual login, so it's known that it's him. He checks a box that he's approving, signing on his goodwill, types in his name, and hits submit.
Okay, so like he does that, the secretary doesn't do it, assistant doesn't do it.
That's correct.
It's just the person who's, he has to physically do that.
That is correct. Okay. It specifically speaks, when you look here, not able to provide your username and password to anyone else.
Yeah.
It's basically simply takes the cost of printing paper, signing it, mailing it, and it's pretty cool. We have some change orders.
So this change order just came to us yesterday, so we have some limited information at this point. I actually have a meeting set up for Monday at noon with our architect and some engineers, but basically it's for the some additional excavating at the football field at the stadium, as their part of that project is to have a place turf playing field for the football program. And as they were excavating the current field, found that there was to accommodate the sod that would be placed. They're needing to dig down further in the earth to get rid of the clay soil. So essentially, they need to make sure that the sod is not laid on clay soil, but on top of topsoil to make everything level the way that it needs to be. Additional excavating needs to happen to that clay. Some additional topsoil also needs to be brought in to provide, I believe, a total of 6 inches of topsoil. That would be acceptable for the sod to be laid on, and then also to make sure that the thing is as level as it needs to be. There's always a little bit of a slope on the playing field. But currently, if they were to do it, they found clay soil which would not adhere greatly to the sod. So that's what this is for. Like I said, that's limited information. We'll be with the architect on Monday to get some additional understanding, more specifically of the need for the additional topsoil change order. It's understandable the additional excavation that needs to happen to remove some of the clay soil not suitable for growth of the playing surface.
You go for it. Mr. Friends, can you just send to the board, or at least specifically, what the contract specs called for? When they were bidding the project? Because I would question that if 8 inches was supposed to be, that should have been included in their bid. From reading this change order, it looks like it's more of a filler, like they're trying to provide more filler, which I completely agree. But if our spec said to assume X, I'm okay with it. But if our spec said you need to provide 8 inches, I'm a no.
Yeah, that's exactly what our meeting is for.
Okay,
yeah, that information, and I can follow back up with the entire board with our understanding there, because I have the exact same question that you have to understand what this was about, and if there just wasn't enough testing to determine that, and judgments were made based on assumptions, or if, to your point, there's an exact number that they should understand that they need to deal with, and that we're not responsible for. Like I said, having this just come to us yesterday, we wanted to make sure we got on the agenda to discuss. This amount is also above the amount that the board has provided myself and Mr. Dress for approval. So work is not going on to deal with this. This work does not happen. It won't happen until we give the approval for the change order.
Is there a pre-bid walkthrough where this may have been discovered? Because I find it hard to believe nobody knew this plan.
Definitely knew there was clay. I think what wasn't known, and yes, there was a pre-bid walkthrough, but they would not have been able to tell. I think there was an assumption of how much topsoil was on top of the clay, and it seems like that was a little bit less probably than they assumed when they took the topsoil, that they would be able then to just replace that instead of having to take out clay information. But once again, meeting with architect and engineer that would have been responsible for setting up those specs to understand if they ran through any testing, any core samples that would have indicated that, how much it was, if it was just a more generic spec with assumptions of how much topsoil versus clay was there.
So the problem always has been at a very high ground wheel. So if you were simply putting the topsoil on top, you don't have much topsoil. What I'm looking at is this added cost actually the fact that they want to take and put ground off. And then it is that the labor problem rather than topsoil.
It's not labor, Larry, if you look at the change order, it's not labor, it's material. This is a material, it's very minimal in the labor, because you can look at the breakdown on the bottom. He's got a labor of like 203 and the 4 of subcontract. My understanding of the subcontract from the subcontractor, they're buying material. So at 62,000, I'm assuming is material based off the way this is written.
It's half of it, so just to clarify, about 38,000 is additional excavation to need to go down further to remove more of the clay soil. That clay soil, though, will need to be replaced. So it's not that it's necessarily too high, it's that we need topsoil in between the sod and the clay. We can, or more, a suitable amount of, I believe it's 6 inches of topsoil on top of the clay. So the need is to go in and cut out more clay, provide that 6 inches of topsoil, and that can be provided. So about $38,000 is that additional cutout. And then to Mr. Jones's point, about $24,500 is the additional topsoil that would be needed to build it back up to be suitable spec and price, or provided for which then the sod will be laid on top of that. The sod itself comes with a little bit of soil that is part of each sod square.
Mike, can you also send, what was our spec as far as crown? Because we're putting a new crown back in, right? And you can just send that too. I'd just be curious to look at that to see what.
Part of why it was pressing for us to get this on the agenda for public discussion, even though we don't have some of the answers, is we'll have to provide you those answers between now and our first September meeting, and then discuss them publicly, is the timeline for said work is pressing. With fall coming, and sod having enough time to be laid, take hold before winter, or jeopardize this project not being ready and impacting track season. So there is a time element to it as well. We're not just rolling over and saying yes, we're doing our due diligence starting Monday, to find out some more answers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good. Public comment, everybody.
The Boys and Girls Basketball Booster Club. My understanding with you, it indicated $40 an hour for setting the charge for the issues of the summer of 2025. And I don't know, I think that was discussed in front of the public sometime as to the dollar per hour for setting the charge. But it just it struck me that this morning or this evening under the Staffing Administration Committee consent agenda, what's that matters? One custodian is $16.90 an hour, one's $18.40 an hour, and one's $14.28 an hour. Okay, and I know that these are new hires, but be that as it may, I just wonder if anybody could help me, anybody else, understand how we got to $40 an hour for the custodial charge for the summer of 2025.
What is provided, it's approval on the agendas are to your point, is the hourly rates paid. The district has other retirement costs, social security payments, so other costs that incur as a percentage of salary. And so $40 an hour covers the average custodian may be assigned. Some of them, yes, I would agree, would be lower than that. Others would be higher. So $40 was the provided amount to make sure that we, as an average, cover as much of our costs as possible.
What do you get to that?
Any other public comments? Okay, would you like to tell us?
Yes. The board will now meet in executive session for purposes of contract negotiation planning, for updates and discussion regarding a confidential personnel matter, for student matters confidential under FERPA, and for review advice given by our solicitor. We'll take about a 10-minute recess and then reconvene for that executive session. Thank you.